Good afternoon, YouTube. It is I, Danielle, better known as Danielle, the Happy Medium. And in this video topic of a discussion today, and off the back of a massive conversation I had with a lady last night up until about 1:30 this morning, I want to talk to you like here out in the industry and also for the general public as well. The terminology that is rituals and why rituals don't really work in the mediumship movement or within the walking world in which that we live in. What I mean by rituals is basically crystals, white sage, these types of things that we put in place in order to give the conscious mind something to fixate on, because we have built in either a fear or we have some kind of worry within us because somebody said something to us, somebody has led us down the garden path, or we have just been told something that really isn't true. So let me take you back, or rewind you back at least 15 hours ago. And I received a phone call from a good friend of mine who had been in a particular situation about a fortnight ago and was looking for my advice. The lady in question had been sitting in a particular circle. She had come away from that circle and certainly hadn't been feeling her best ever since. Subsequently from that, there'd been a conversation between her and another person somewhere else, which had told her she had something attached to her energy and that she needed white sage in order to be able to remove this particular attachment. Now, when I talk about rituals is where we use a bit of sage, or we use a crystal, or we use some kind of bracelet or some sort of physical object in order for us to be able to put our mind to it. And when we understand mediumship and we understand energy and we understand how energy works, you will understand or come to understand that rituals are absolutely of no use to you whatsoever. And this also can bleed down into your mediumship. And this also goes back to a workshop I did a week tomorrow over a concert. And there was a lot of what I call old school mediums in there. People who were being told about grounding, putting the light up, pulling the energy up from their feet all through their body until it sort of bushes out of the top of their head. And while once over, these things probably were the done thing. As mediumship has moved and we've made advances in mediumship, these things aren't needed. And the reason being, if you understand mediumship like I do, mediumship is all of the mind. The mind is ultimately controlling everything that goes on, and the spirit world is blending with your mind, not with anything else. And what tends to happen is because the mind is in some sort of fear place, or because the mind thinks of some sort of an attachment, what we then do is we then use rituals, or we use rituals within our mediumship to get us up and on our feet. Rituals in order to release negative attachments. And there is no such thing as attachments. You can't pick up anything to do with that type of thing. Because ultimately, if you understand energy, what's yours cannot stay with you. And if you tell anything to go away, it has to go away because it doesn't belong to you. So therefore, there's no reason for you to be able to use white sage or anything like that unless it helps your mind to be able to release the fear in which that you place upon it. What I mean by this is, if we go back to the story of my lovely lady last night, basically, because somebody had told her she had an attachment, she then decided that it was important she'd get the white sage out to release it. When really, it was because the thought had been placed within the mind. The mind had started to go over time, and the mind had started to attract them sort of thoughts, because if we remember, everything we think, the universe lines up. So when we're thinking we've got an attachment, we've got this, we've got something with us, we've got to do these rituals in order for our mediumship to be able to go to the next level, what we're telling our conscious mind is that we need these things. We need these things in our mediumship. We need these things to get rid of this negative energy. We need these things in order to be able to enhance our clear ability. We need this structure in order for our mediumship to be able to move to the next level. When really all you need to understand is that if you use the mind and allow your mind to be free to work with the spiritual realms in the way in which that the mind wants to, then you will find that your mediumship will move forward without the structure, without the rituals, without this opening and closing, all these types of things that have been bled into us very, very early on within our mediumship. And also what we have been taught or handed down through generations of generations. And ultimately, because they've been handed down, and because this one says this and because that one says that, it must be true, because ultimately what everybody says is true, of course. What you need to understand is, with your mediumship, it is yours. It's what you believe to be true is yours. I ain't saying that, you opening and closing isn't the right thing for you. All I ask you as a medium sitting here on this channel is to take a bigger look at how you do your mediumship and whether or not it can be altered or changed. If it can't, then that's okay. But also try to look at it and try maybe testing out whether I need that protection on. Do I need to do that opening and closing? Do I need that grounding? And just check it out. Try it. If it don't work, go back to the way you were. It's not going to do you any harm. All I ask of you is that you try, or you look for a different sort of way, if that makes sense, and whether or not you can open that mind a little bit more with the rituals and this of negative attachments or negative energy, or you pick something up, or this has happened or that's happened. What we have to remember here is then people are projecting their fear upon us. And when people project their fear upon us, it's because they're frightened that they may have something with us, or their mind is sort of in a place of fear, or their mind isn't quite understanding, or doesn't have enough knowledge or understanding of how energy works, the way the spirit world works. And ultimately, they go with the old school thoughts of white sage, release these things, move these things on. When I talk about crystals, I talk about bracelets and all these types of things. Crystals probably do work. I'm not disputing this theory. I am not disputing that they don't work either. All I ask of you is to take another look at how you do your mediumship, or where you're putting your intention is probably the better word I can put to you. By putting your intention to the crystal, or to the particular bracelet, or the white sage, or whatever it may be there, what ultimately you're doing is giving the conscious mind something to fixate on, which takes the worry away, takes the fear away. And every medium I talk to, or every medium who's sort of in the industry or learning or whatever it may be, are all sort of got this sort of fear in them. But it's not fear of the spirit world, it's fear of themselves. It's fear of them getting it wrong, fear of them being judged by their fellow man, them feeling they may have let the client down, they haven't gotten the right evidence, or they haven't nailed that bit of evidence quite as strongly as they could have. And all these things is a fear in us. It's not a fear of the spirit world. It's a fear that we're not good enough. We're not worthy enough of, stand on that rostrum. So what we do is we give ourselves, or we've been taught these rituals from very early on, that these will help us to move forward. This will give the conscious mind something to work on so it doesn't worry. And ultimately, you really don't need them. But I can only tell you from my perspective, I can only make people listen. I cannot make you do. So all I ask is that you listen and maybe go away and try. If not, and you want to stay the way you are, then I'm okay with that as a medium. I have no issues or problems with it. All I ask is that you take a bigger look at how you can maybe stretch that mind, how you can maybe look to maybe push that mediumship forward, and how you make your mind that little bit more limitless without the structures and formats which we use within mediumship still to this day, which is the opening and closing, pulling this energy on. For me personally, I've spoke about quite a lot here on the channel. As soon as I push that thought to the spirit world, I'm there. And I'm a great believer in the spirit world's only a thought away. The thought of moving the mind. And people said to me, how do you mean by that? What do you mean by that, Danielle? And I've done quite a few lives and, these types of things on this type of thing. The spirit world is thought-based. Everything we do with the spirit world, everything we do within life is thought. Thought becomes an action. Action becomes whatever. Whether it be you write something, whether you text somebody, whether you make a call. It has to be a thought before it become anything else. So for those who are out there who ask me, well, Danielle, I need to do this building of the energy. I need to build my energy so that the spirit world can lower theirs. The spirit world are not lowering theirs and you're not building yours. You are just opening your mind to allow the spirit world to work with the mind. That is all you're doing. You don't need to change your vibration. You don't need to raise it nor lower it. The spirit world aren't interested in your energy. They're just interested in your mind. They're not interested in blending with your energy or using your chakra system or anything like this, because it's all of the mind. Everything that the spirit world does is working with the mind. I could talk about how they work with the mind, the ideas and concepts that I've getting from the spirit world. And I had a guide who come forward a few weeks back now. He looked like the nutty professor, I've got to be honest with you, on that one. And he gave me a really explanation of how the spirit world really do work with the mind, and it's something that I've been looking at and working on quite diligently alongside neuroscience for a little while. And I'm sure this guide will be back, because he certainly did broaden my horizons of how the spirit world really do work with you. But for those who are using the rituals, if it works for you, then all I can say is stick with it, but also try something else, because trying something else may actually just get you from being stuck to unstuck. And so many mediums I do find within the industry who come to me who've been in the industry for a long time, and they're like, Danielle, I'm at a stalemate. My mediumship's not moving forward. I've been doing these things, for X, Y, and Z years, and I'm at a standstill, and I feel like my connection's not quite there, or my evidence isn't there, or whatever. And I say, well, try this. This is a new way. See how we get on with this. And they come to me at the end of the day and they go, yeah, like I've been wasting 25 years of my life doing this, that, and the other, all because that was the way I was taught. And in the time, that probably was the right way to be taught. But we have moved. Mediumship moved. The minds have moved. The mediumship movement, which that I work in now, is continuously evolving and growing. Also, what we did 20 years ago was a lot of fear-based. We didn't have as big an understanding of the spirit world as we do now. So we are constantly evolving as the spirit world is evolving, which is always good for us and the communications of the spirit world. But what's happened is the training that was done many years ago has instilled a lot of fear into mediums, where they feel as if they need them rituals, or they need this sort of white sage to release this negative energy. Nothing, like I say, can stay with you unless you allow it to. And anything that's yours is yours, and what's theirs is theirs. And nothing of the spirit world stays with anybody, because it belongs to the spirit world and not to you. So all I ask in this video is that you think about how your mediumship may be or could be progressed. If you're doing the old style of rituals of, raising the vibration, I've got to meditate before, I could do a rostrum work, or, these types of things, that's okay. Like I say, I have no problem with that. But what I really like you to do is ask yourself, let's try without the meditation for that rostrum work, or let's try that meditation without the sitting. Let me try not putting that bubble up. Because when you realise that the only fear you have is the fear of yourself, and when you fix the self, you then fix your mediumship. And so many people will look at me and go, can it be that simple, Danielle? But really it is that simple. People say to me, why can't I punch for that bigger link? Because you're frightened of punching for it. It's not because it's not there. It's because you're frightened. You're frightened. You're frightened you're going to make a fool of yourself. Why can't I get deep in that evidence? Because you don't go back and ask for more information. Generalised information is somebody who passed with cancer. You make it deeper by talking about what kind of cancer it was, and what the story is, or the backstory. That's deepening of the evidence. People come to me all the time and ask me so much about how can I do this, how can I do that, how can I do it? And it's really, really simple. And I've been saying it for a long time. The spirit world's common sense savvy. They've been doing communication since Pussy was a kitten. They don't want to make it complicated. The only place making it complicated is you. And when you realise that it's you that's holding you back, will you realise that there ain't nothing wrong with your mediumship. There's something wrong with you. So in this video topic, I ask each and every one of you who maybe are watching it to look at how you do your mediumship. Whether you really need them rituals. Do you really need to put your intention to the conscious mind, when really you need to get in control of the conscious mind and check out what's really fear-based in you and what's really worrying you. Take less and less notice of what people say in the industry. Some of it is old hat. It doesn't work anymore. Some of it may need to stay. My jury's still out on that one there. For those who are using the rituals, try and take them away. See if you can do it without them. See if you can surprise yourself. If not, and you feel it's not for you, stay the way you are. I have no issues or problems with that. I train people from all walks of life in all different ways, with all different beliefs. For me personally, I'll always ask you to take a different look, but if you want to stay the way you are, then I'm okay with that, and I can still train that way. It just means that every time I train you, I may have to find another exercise that is a little different to the ones that I give to the others. But again, there's no problems with that. So in this video, or this topic up for discussion today, and off the back of the conversation I had last night and the workshop last week, I hope this gives you a bigger understanding of rituals, how rituals could be holding you back in your mediumship, and how fear will also be holding you back in your mediumship. And hopefully you can find new ways to inspire your mind, how to make that mind limitless, and maybe you may not be so fearful of the spirit world when you realise it's only you that's holding your mediumship back. I've been Danielle, better known as Danielle the Happy Medium. I'm off this weekend. I have got a live Q&A coming up on Facebook on the 31st of August, around about 7:30 there. If you want to come along and join us, certainly do bring your questions. Please do like, share, and comment on the video. I certainly welcome your feedback, and hopefully I will get to see you all next week. But for me, for now, it's bye for now.